Hello. As found on the Brainy Quote website, and in the words of the infamous and great Dr. Seuss, fun is good. Now, I know what you may be thinking. That statement is short and simple. Yeah, it is, but it's also true. So, what do you like to do for fun? According to the audience analysis survey in my online speech class, when asked what kind of games they like to play for fun, 6 out of the 8 people mentioned some kind of games they like to play with friends or family. As you can see on this chart, that is 75% of the class. Almost all. So that has been a common ground, playing games with friends and family, since the beginning of time. And today that's what I'm going to talk about. Today, I, Frankie Goforth, a descendant of the Cherokee Indians, will be informing you on some of the historic games that Native Americans like to play for entertainment in their spare time, including Indian dice, lacrosse, the moccasin game, and the stick-catching game. First, let's take a look at one of the first games that Native Americans like to play for fun. Indian dice was a great game of gambling and chance that all Indians loved to play. This game, all you needed to play was a bowl and 7 pieces. These pieces could have been made out of stone or rock or bone or seed pits, and they ended up being called dice. So 5 of the pieces had to be the exact same, either in shape or in their material that they were made out of. And the final 2 pieces had to be identical but different than the first 5 pieces. All the pieces would then be colored the same on one side and different on the other side. To help clarify this, I'll give you an example. In my family, we actually have a set of Indian dice. Our set is made out of bone, and we have 5 pieces that are circles and 2 pieces that look like eagles. On one side, all the pieces are red, and on the other side, they're all white. So to start this game, the Native Americans would put the dice in a bowl and all stand around a circle around the bowl. They would then take turns lifting up and setting down the bowl to toss the dice. Now, depending on how the dice landed inside the bowl, the different amounts of points were awarded, and the first player to 21 would win. The winner would then collect the wagers that were set at the beginning of the game and would set the next game's wager with money or items, and the whole game would continue until one player had all the items or all the money. Historic Indians loved playing this game. It was fun, but it also had an educational side to it. When playing, Native American children learned to count, and their addition skills were even strengthened. Next, let's talk about a second historic Native American game. Lacrosse is perhaps the most recognized game, and that may be because it is still played today. However, the historic version is very different from today's version. Today, lacrosse is played on standard fields with predetermined goals and only a handful of players. But the historic version, the real Indian version, was not so. According to the Federation of International Lacrosse website, quote, lacrosse was played on huge open areas between villages with goals that might have been trees or other natural features, end quote. The article on that website continues to say how in a game of lacrosse there could have been 100 players to 100,000 players at any one given time in the game. That's a lot of players. The rules of the game were very simple back then. It only consisted of getting the ball, which was often a bundle of sticks and animal fur, from one end of the field to the other where the goals were, and doing so only using your stick, the lacrosse stick. It was very simple. It was just a stick with a little netting on one end that was used to pass the ball or to run with it. Every Native American loved playing this game, especially men and boys. It was a game that was just full of entertainment for everyone who played and even who watched. Now, let's discuss a third historic Native American game. The moccasin game was another game that revolved around chance. To play this game, you would divide all the Native Americans into 2 teams, and one person from each team would play at a time, one being the keeper and one being the finder. Between the two teams, there would set a table, or perhaps the ground, and on that there would be 4 pieces of moccasin. Or if moccasins were not available, the Indians would use other pieces of leather. An example of this is a leather pouch. And here, this is my own leather pouch right here. It is called a medicine bag. It's authentic and handmade, and this is what one of the pieces of leather could have looked like if the Native Americans didn't have moccasins. Other than that, they would have 4 pieces of stone or bullet shells or seed pits. 3 would be the same and 1 would be different. So to start the game, the keeper would hide each one piece under each moccasin, moving his hands continually to confuse the finder. When ready, the finder would lift up the moccasins or the leather pieces, and depending on how many turns it took to find the one different piece, different points were awarded. So, to keep track of the points, there would set a bundle of sticks between the two teams, and the team that got 1 point would get 1 stick, and so on. So, as you can imagine, this game could have taken forever to finish. Actually, according to Michael Zimney on the sdpb.org site, quote, the length of the game could have varied widely, taking hours or even days, end quote. That's a long game. But still, the Indians loved playing this game. They had so much fun, it was simple, and it could have been played anywhere and everywhere. Lastly, let's look at one final game that historic Native Americans loved playing in their spare time for entertainment. The stick-catching game was one of the most simple games that Native Americans played. All they needed was a bundle of sticks. A whole group of people could play, but one person would play at a time. To play, you would just hold out your hand, set a stick on the back of your hand, and turn your hand over and try to catch the stick. Each time the player was successful, he would add another stick to the back of his hand and keep doing so. The player who did this with the most sticks would win. As you can see, this game was extremely simple, but still Native Americans loved playing it. It was so much fun to them. And this game also had other benefits. According to the Native American Game Document by Cherie Harim Arts, Indian games, including the stick-catching game, quote, brought people together, stimulated social interactions, strengthened social bonds, and taught virtues that would be important in adult life, end quote. In summary, Native Americans had countless games that they played for fun, for entertainment in their spare time. Some were simple, some were more complicated, and as you can see, they were all enjoyed by everybody. So, the next time you are presented with information about Native Americans, you will be able to recall some of the fun games they played. And remember, fun is good. Thank you.